I think we all remember Top Gun. I mean, let's take a look at this scene right here.
I can't shoot this son of a bitch. Let's see if we can have a little fun with him.
It's a MIG. It's a Russian fighter pilot.
Is this your idea
Jet
of fun, Mav?
pilot.
Great. Watch the birdie.
So in that scene, the reason why I bring this up is MIG. We're using the acronym for a different reason. We're using it for the situation that I see, the epidemic that I see that is currently going through sports. And that is, it is situations where coaches, leaders, and parents, and then it ends up filtering down through to the other athletes, are getting confused with how to utilize empathy and then how to deal with their own guilt in a situation where their athlete or the athlete themselves underperform, or the coach or the parent feels like they underperformed or underprepared. And so what we were calling it is the mindset of inverse growth, because what they're doing is they're trying to help the athlete by cushioning the blow, cushioning the fall, by creating situations, or we say they're like marking down or mitigating a situation, and they're trying to they're discounting reality. Really, they're creating situations where it's not completely the truth, it's not completely distorted, but it's really not functional or helpful for the athlete themselves. They are so what ends up happening is they end up trying to make somebody feel better about the fact that they feel like they put forth their best effort, and they don't want them to be upset about how it finished. But like, one of the most important, one of the all-time great TV shows, NCIS, Ducky in there, he goes through and performs these autopsies, and he's dissecting and trying to determine what went wrong, what created the death. And the death of the performance, so to speak, is how, and is what you're looking for. Also, you need to kind of look at what created the life in the performance too. So what was the good, what was the bad, how did it go wrong? But when you mitigate a situation as the parent or the coach or whatever, because you're feeling guilty about it, or you just don't want the kid to feel bad, you're not helping them out. You can be positive, but don't be disingenuous when you say something. And you may even be telling yourself you're being genuine because you want to feel, like you did your best, or you want to feel like they did their best, and maybe they did, and maybe you did, where you stand now. But there's a likelihood that there's better information out there, and that you could have done better, and that on a deep level you understand that. And so that's why this keeps happening. There's so much information out there that we always know there's more information that we have access to. And so what happens is, I call it this mindset of inverse growth. It's the opposite of what Carol Dweck's talking about when she talks about the growth mindset. What we're doing is we're disempowering these poor kids, and not because we're mean people or because we're trying to sabotage them, but that's what we're doing. We're creating victims. We're creating people. And then on the flip side of it, then you have people who are going over the top in the other direction. They're trying to create Spartans or stoic people, or you gotta outwork. But a lot of that work is inappropriate, and it's at a level that's too high to sustain. So then you have injuries, and then you develop just poor habits, or a poor self-esteem, or a bunch of other things that go along with that. But at least that person has work ethic, people will say. But they're not using the brain as much as they should be either. They're not looking at their performances necessarily and then trying to optimize them. So the situation here that we have is very, very relatable to Top Gun. And the reason why I say that is that first scene where you've got Maverick, and he jumps right into a ridiculously dangerous or potentially dangerous situation with the MIGs flying around, and like he's jumping in to help out one of his guys. But he jumps in as a hero. He jumps in as a fearless individual, and ferocious, powerful, and on point. He was in flow. He was feeling it. I mean, you could see it, and it's a movie. I get that, but like, it represents genuinely a situation, and it does it in a very, very understandable or relatable way. And so in the next scene, we got go fast forward to the last scene, and you've got, in between then, there's been a lot that's happened to Maverick. The whole story unfolds, and Goose dies. Sorry if you haven't seen the movie. Goose dies in a plane accident, and then unfortunately it kind of rattles Maverick. So it was a real event, and it did rattle him. Now, for us, that might mean one of your coaches rattled you, or one of your opponents rattled you, or one of your whatever rattled you, and you have that fear in your head that that's going to happen again, and so you walk into contests, and that makes you a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger and execute the way that you need to perform at the highest level. And then unfortunately, it's an endless cycle. That flywheel starts getting pushed by the parent or the coach or a different leader or somebody else, or people who are just trying to make you feel good about a situation because they know you put forth the effort. Unfortunately, what they're doing is they're feeding this mindset of inverse growth, and it's creating victims, it's creating disempowering beliefs, it's creating separation between you and the real solution, which is going all in and taking 100% accountability, 100% responsibility. And then that allows you to take action on a situation, and that you can actually move forward. If you're blaming somebody else, I mean, I'll give you the list of, this is what I hear all the time from parents. I'll ask them, oh, how are you guys doing right now? And they'll say, how did you do in the last event? Well, they'll start complaining. Then they'll say, well, we had some bad coaching. There was some poor officiating. There was the teammates aren't great. The opponents were cheating. They were being dirty. There's unfair situations out there. There was poor playing conditions, poor health. That person was sick. They were injured. They didn't get sleep. They were traveling all night. They're doing too many other things. Poor circumstances. They're unlucky. They're creating victims. They're creating people who are lying about a situation because it makes them feel better about the outcome. But the bottom line is we have to focus on the process. It's about focusing on the process and not the outcome, and focusing on getting into flow. And we're talking about the situation in Top Gun. We're not talking about Penny Benjamin here. We're not talking about that situation. We're not talking about the flybys or any of the other flyboy stuff, where it was also situations where he was in flow. But we get to that last scene, and it's a whole different story. That last scene, and here's where it is. It's a dogfight. There's some craziness going on down there. He's rattled. He's having flashbacks probably of losing Goose, and at least that's the storyline that they're creating. And he's hesitant to pull the trigger. Loses control of his of the plane. All of a sudden, he does regain control of it, but then he's apprehensive to get back in there. He's worried. Then he comes to a mission critical mass point where he has to get back in there, and if he doesn't get back in there, he's going to lose an opportunity. People are probably going to lose their lives. Who knows? Maybe he's going to jeopardize, the health and welfare of everybody on the ship too. Then all of a sudden, something happens. He breathes. He pauses. Kind of regains his composure. He does, he holds onto his friend's dog tags, and next thing you know, he regains his focus. He re-engages. He gets back on point. He's super focused. He goes back on target. Next thing you know, he locks in. And then obviously, the rest is history. Now, obviously at the end, you got the celebration, the victory, and all the other stuff. And we may as well watch it because it's worth watching. But
you are still dangerous. You can be my wingman anytime. Bullshit. You can be mine.
and then they're best friends or whatever they want you to believe. But I'll leave you with this. You shouldn't feel guilty. You should feel empowered. There's so many resources out there right now to make you a better athlete, to make you a better coach, to make you a better trainer, to make you a better parent. You just need to know that you have to have a guide to go through them, to filter through what's accurate, what's not accurate. And I'll leave you with this, and this is what I want to say. We are born bold, fearless, and heroic, just like Maverick in the beginning. Then we experience pain and displeasure, and then we distance ourselves from that often. And then that causes us to stutter in critical points. And then we come to a tipping point and we become courageous again, and then we get decisive and bold with our action again.